deputy superintendent of 2 Maine correctional facilities is facing felony theft and bribery charges.
61-year-old Gerald Merrill of Abbott was arrested yesterday. Merrill is the deputy superintendent of the Mountain View Correctional Facility in Charleston and the Down East Correctional Facility in Machiasport. According to the Maine Attorney General's office, Merrill engaged in a scheme using state funds to purchase products from certain vendors in exchange for illegal kickback payments. An investigation began after the Maine State Auditor's Office noticed irregular charges on cards Merrill controlled. A search warrant was issued at the Mountain View Correctional Facility in his home yesterday. Merrill made his first court appearance in Bangor today. The state asked for $50,000 bail. Given Merrill has no criminal history, the defense asked for $2,500.
I don't think there's a danger to the community, and I don't think it's a flight risk. And in terms of the no contact, that protects the integrity of the judicial system. And therefore, the $2,500 with a Maine pretrial is sufficient and not greater than necessary, Your Honor.
The judge set bail at $5,000. Maine's Attorney General, the state auditor, and the Maine Department of Corrections released statements today in response to Merrill's arrest. Randy Liberty, commissioner of the Maine DOC, said in part, "I am deeply disturbed by these allegations and fully support the actions of the Attorney General's office." He went on to say, quote, "The department will fully support and assist the Attorney General's office in its work and working closely with the Department of Administrative and Financial Services. We will ensure appropriate action is taken in response to this serious matter," unquote. And you can read the full statement from all 3 officials on our website.